Okay, so for the one-handed video, as we've played around with in class, that a lot of signs that are two-handed can be done pretty easily one-handed. The two-handed signs can be one-handed. You see that a lot more in the deaf-blind segments where both hands are signing in mirror image, right? So you're not seeing the sort of hammer and anvil where this one doesn't move much, then this does all the moving. You see like work, I have to work. You're signing the active hand with both hands. So now if you're holding something, the active hand is doing all the things without the passive hand. And I just realized that as I'm recording this, I didn't turn off my ringer, which is the best cue for someone to call me. So another thing to think about too is you can do the one-handed signs, and it's a good thing to practice those. Practice with your dominant hand, then also practice with your non-dominant hand, because this hand gets ignored a lot, and you may have to depend on it. If you pick up something, or if you're right-handed and you're holding something, hot coffee, whatever, it may not be convenient to switch hands and sign. So you want to get used to using this and becoming a little bit more ambidextrous. So tied in with that, sometimes there are signs that aren't very clear or are hard. You can always switch to finger spelling. In the video, she says one hand as opposed to one hand. So as you start using it more, you'll start to notice that some signs are clearer. If you finger spell, some signs are clearer that you can sign one-handed. So just be aware you can have both of those. Second snapshot is adding... Oh, one other thing I want to say about the first snapshot is she signs true, and we've used this for really. She ends it with really. So it's actually real, L-Y, right? L-Y. Really, because this is like an L coming off, right? So really. So that's one way of signing really or truly. That was one note I wanted to have you kind of watch it and notice for her signing that. The next one, actually, it's adding ingredients is pretty clear. The video is pretty self-explanatory. I don't think there's any signing that gets confusing. And then the third one, the last snapshot, a lot of it depends on this sign depends, right? So it's one thing depends on the other. Here's this depends on this, right, for support. Okay. Then we get into measurements. Okay. And again, we'll go through all of the vocab as a separate video, but you could do measuring cups or measuring cup, C-U-P. A lot of the times we'll just use the abbreviation that we're used to. So TSP, TBSP, or OZ. Okay. I guess I can go through and add in asterisks. Oops. There we go. Boop. And again, abbreviations, QT and GAL. Okay, well, I should put parentheses around those to be absolutely clear that that's not the English. I should have paused this. All right. So, ways of preparing food, how to cook, how to chop. Most of them are going to be iconic, so whatever it is, you're going to just show it. When we talk about classifiers, we call them instrument classifiers, where you're actually showing what you're doing. Crack open an egg, right? So it will be take the egg, hit it on the surface, and then crack it open, right? Nut, crack, and however your nutcracker works. Breaking bread is usually just tear it apart, right? Here's a snapping the ends off green beans. In the what's the sign, it says trimming green beans. And you would say green bean, right? The OSB, green bean. And then you snap, like you break off the ends. So break the beans. Mince, chop, and dice all depends on size, right? So chop is big. Chop. Dice, medium sized. Mince is very tiny, right? So actually, you know what? I'm going to pause this and add in. Okay, so I just added in. So if you're going to mince something, it's smaller chops. If you're going to chop, larger. And if you're going to dice, now the pictures, I would say don't worry so much about the English words that are used for it. How big a cut do you want to make is the best rule of thumb for this. So slicing, it's all in a row, right? As opposed to more chopping randomly. Peeling, you can peel out or peel in, whatever is appropriate. Grating. So again, I'll go through all these. We did beat. I'll do all these in the vocab thing, but so separately. So beating eggs. So egg, we did that last unit. Grease. So remember, grease is down here. It's greasy, fatty, anything that's slick. And so you'll have baking pan, and then you'll grease the inside, or you spray. Mixing food, and you'll see mix. There's the whole video on adding things. You don't want to just add, or you're going to show the verb of how it gets added. So whether you pour, and we'll go through all these as I say. And if we're talking about stand mix, we're still going to do the same thing where it's here's the bowl, right? Or some people do it with the straight finger or trigger finger. Okay. Cooking methods: baking, broiling, frying. Oh, let me add asterisks. Hold on a second. Okay, there's some asterisks for just a reminder of which ones can or are finger spelled. So the difference between boil and simmer, I want to point out, is that boil, so egg, we did hard boiled. So here's rolling boil versus simmer. So tiny little flames, tiny little bubbles, as opposed to large for boil. Steam, we're just going to take that and here's the steamer basket, and here's the bubbling water underneath. So boiling, steaming. They make sense. A lot of this, if you don't know the cooking technique that they're talking about, look it up, watch a YouTube video on how to cook and what that technique means, because it will help you understand how to sign it. And then when we're talking about foods, we'll do the vocab review. I'm trying to put all the asterisks next to the ones where finger spelling is, if not the only option, one of the options. And I'm trying to group these together so that you, like boil and simmer, are very similar signs. And that's it. And then I will go through. Here are 2 extra videos I found or I've referred to before in other classes. This one, bunch of nutritional signs. So if you're interested in more signs like this, her channel is very good. They're all in ASL, but she signs them at a good level that you should be able to understand most of what she signs. Then I'll do assignment advice, and this is old one, so I haven't written in the notes for the new one yet. So that is the video lecture for 7.5.